So it's going to be a busy next 48 to 72 hours here in the Transformer world with New York Comic Con. But let's talk about Walmart Collector Con was today. And they dropped a whole bunch of pre-orders in our lap. A lot of stuff we already talked about in the past week or so. But we do have a brand new item that dropped, some brand new images, a pre-order and everything like that. The return of a old brand to the Transformers collaborative line. So let's jump into that, and let's talk about first the history of Star Wars Transformers. So Star Wars Transformers debuted in 2005, and I remember when I first got my hands on them, they felt like something that was not designed by the typical East Coast Hasbro team or even the Japanese Takara team. It was a completely different crew of people that worked on these toys, and it felt like you took Star Wars Micro Machine action fleet vehicles, which were the larger scaled, more detailed micro machines, and they had these little simple 3 points of articulation pilot figures, and you made them transform. And it had a pilot, it had a cockpit, it had a robot mode, and it felt like something that the fans have been wanting to have for many, many years. It was less a sentient transformer and more a piloted mech with pilot cockpit, which I kind of felt in a lot of ways maybe hurt the transformation because that kind of had to be a standard in both modes, but we'll get into that in a moment. What I always felt kind of hurt the line more than anything was the hit or miss when it came to quality. The first wave was plagued with issues. That X-Wing Luke Skywalker had rail-thin hip joints that broke after one or two transformations. The Darth Vader TIE Fighter's lightsaber, for some reason, had like the paint would bleed all over the figure and even in the package. Even the first wave General Grievous and even that first big price point of the Millennium Falcon, which was Han Solo and Chewie, suffered terribly from GPS just 1 or 2 years after its release. It was pretty crazy, and I know personally opening them up, the whole collection, slowly throughout the years, and even some of the earlier and later ones on Twitter Live, it was not good. It was not good, and if it had clear plastic on it, and it was a cockpit hinge or a transformation, you just had to be wary. But the line did get better after a while. It seems like the team started to get into their groove and figure out where they went wrong, and the Clone Wars figures weren't too bad, and the smaller core class-like price point that they made at the end was also pretty good. And let's be real, that Darth Vader Death Star was a fanboy's dream. So the line would change throughout the years, and the branding would change also. It went from Star Wars Transformers to Transformers crossover Star Wars when Marvel started getting involved with the crossover stuff. And then when Marvel got canceled after 2 years of poor sales, they went back to Star Wars Transformers. It was an interesting ride. And the Hasbro Transformers Star Wars line officially ended in 2012. And then a few years later in 2015, Takara did these 2 little quick one-offs, which were way superior in quality and plastic and transformation. They did the TIE Advance Darth Vader TIE Fighter, and they did the Millennium Falcon with Han and Chewie, but their own versions of it. And I believe those were really done just because Episode 7 hype was really at its peak and Force Awakens was around the corner, so they kind of really did that, even though they featured only classic characters with this. But Takara just did those 2, and that was that. And then that was it for Star Wars and Transformers as a romance. And in 2019, Hasbro created that Transformers Collaborative line, and or the Transformers Collab for short, that we usually call it. And it launched with that Ectotron and the Ghostbusters crossover, and the rest was history. And 5 years later, and over 15 brands of collaborations now going, and Star Wars has finally returned to collaborations, crossovers, whatever you want to call them. And we have here today, courtesy of the Walmart Collector Con, the Transformers Collaborative, Star Wars The Mandalorian N-1 Starfighter. So this is pretty much the Mandalorian's N-1 Starfighter, transforms into the Mando, aka Din Djarin. And gone are the mini pilot figures that were common from the previous collaboration kind of stuff that existed with Star Wars Transformers back in that 2005 to 2012 era. And we're clearly in an era now where these are much more well designed, these collaboration items, and they just will not suffer from the same problems that the Star Wars and Marvel ones did before from that era. And it looks really good. I'll be honest with you, it looks really good. It says here 7.5 inches in robot mode, 37 steps to transform from the N-1 fighter into the Mandalorian. Comes with a whole bunch of blast effects that can be used all over the vehicle, 2 blasters, and the shield and cape that they list here is probably one of the more clever uses of a stand that I've seen used in Transformers in a long time. It has this beautiful, clear, translucent blue stand that in robot mode could be made into the cape of the Mando as well as a energy shield. So very clever use of that. Looks really nice. I was seeing a lot of fans making comparison that the tooling here looks very similar to that of the Transformers Generation 1 Headmaster's Horicon Snapdragon. And yeah, while I can see it, you look at the robot mode, you turn the ship the other direction, you could kind of squint and see it. But I mean, let's be real. We got a really perfect Snapdragon with the Earthrise one a while back. And I mean, in all honesty, if Hasbro needs to use that trademark again, I think they'll just do something fresh and different with a name like Snapdragon instead of just retreading what they already kind of perfected, in my opinion, with their Earthrise version. So what's popping with this is it's going to be available now for pre-order on the Walmart CollectorCon Walmart website. It's going to be $54.97. So something that's in a liter class. I think it's probably, at 7.5 inches, it's a small liter class, and then it has all those extra blast effects that probably fill in the costing. That probably is them trying to make sense of this liter price point. It's planned to ship out February 15th, 2025, so a late Valentine's Day gift for someone, I guess. But yeah, it is what it is. We're back to having Star Wars crossover with Transformers again. Again, a very weird relationship throughout the years, and hopefully the quality on this one is more closer to what Takara did in 2015 and a little less of what Hasbro was doing in 2005. But we will see. We also have a quick reveal and an update from Super 7, some more items that are going to be popping off on their website and will be showing up at New York Comic Con. And it's their latest wave, which is unfortunately all repaints. We talked about most of these, but we got our first look at some of the others that are, well, it is what it is. We got the prototype RC we talked about, the Grimlock that's clearly the San Diego Comic-Con metallic, just now on a carded figure back instead of just being boxed. We have the Ghost of Starscream. We have the Red Rumble to go with the Blue Rumble. And now we have our first look of just 2 Optimus Prime repaints. We have the Nucleon Quest Special Mission Optimus Prime, which is a black repaint of Optimus, but with Autobot emblems, because if you look into that history of the Nucleon Quest and the Power Master armor and all that wackiness, that's a whole other story. And then they have something that they label here as Ultra Magnus Optimus Prime. It's clearly just an Optimus Prime with the Ultra Magnus colors when you remove the armor. Again, go read the Dreamwave books or whatever, or look at the original 86 toy, but there's that too. So bunch of repaints. Again, Super 7, come on guys, make some new stuff. I love what you do, but make some new stuff, man. Also, Big Bad Toy Store tomorrow apparently is going to be revealing 2 more items for Super 7 on their website, but judging by the silhouettes that are shown there, it looks like it's just the San Diego Comic-Con Grimlock and Unicron. Is it just going to be overstock from that's going to be available for purchase there? I do not know. Anyways, it's going to be a busy weekend here in the Transformer world, and we're going to be covering a lot of different stuff. Tomorrow there's going to be reveals. Maybe even tonight there'll be some more reveals. It's going to be a lot of stuff. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me here on the Transformer Slag podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll keep you educated, updated, and informed everything that's going on in our hobby. And I'll talk to you, as always, in the near future.